Welcome in, everybody, to Fantasy Pros. This is the Fantasy Baseball Podcast. It is me, Joey P, Joe Pisapia, and today we're going to talk about sleepers. That's right. We've got 10 very popular, buzzy names of sleepers in the fantasy baseball community right now that a lot of people are talking about for different reasons. And we're going to talk to Welsh here and figure out whether or not we're sleeping with these guys or maybe we're going away from them. I don't know. That's a weird way to phrase it now that
We're not doing phrasing anymore?
No, I guess not. But anyway, jokes aside, ha, ha, ha. We're going to talk about these sleepers. We're going to talk about whether or not they deserve spots in your rosters in 2023. And speaking of those rosters, if you are starting to prepare already for 2023 baseball, we got you covered at Fantasy Pros because the draft kit is out. It is live. It's amazing. It's got the rankings, the cheat sheets, the projections, all the articles you can imagine. And guess what? It's free. FantasyPros.com/draft kit. Check it out. And of course, if you upgrade to premium, it unlocks even more draft strategy content, including all that extra stuff you get with the draft wizard. So don't delay. Go premium today. Wow, that rhymed. That was pretty good. It was very Dr. Seuss of me. But don't forget, the draft kit is here. FantasyPros.com/draft kit, at least for free. Go check it out.
How much
if
again?
You need more baseball, go get more. Yes, Welsh, what do you got?
How much was it again?
It was free. Free. I know. I can't believe it. But there you go. Yeah, the special thing where I come to draft your team for you is somewhere in the Hall of Fame subscription. You know, Welsh and I come over, we do a private session with you, we get you we get you pumped up for the actual draft. You know, it's a whole big thing we do.
Can you imagine if you and I went to like someone's house and we're drafting for them? Can you imagine the chaos that person
drafting
would have
with
to
them?
With?
Oh my gosh, that would be so great.
You
know, it's like the angel and devil on the other side of the people, you know, telling them, don't take this guy.
Knock on the door, opens up. We're just like, hey, everybody, we just make ourselves at home. We're getting in
like,
snacks.
Who are these two
morons?
No. Yeah, that's probably what we would get. But that's okay. We're used to that. That's what our families say too. So let's get to the sleepers. Let's talk about these guys that are out there. And let's start with a guy who, ironically, you know, he's in the top 50. He is right at 50 in the ADP, but he is considered a sleeper right now. He's actually somebody I drafted. If you saw the first draft show we've done already of the season, we just did it earlier this week. The Worm, Ryan Warmley, joined us for that show. But in 2021, this guy had 30 home runs and 106 ribbies, 108 runs scored. Yeah. He was a highly coveted player. He's Ozzie Albies, second baseman of the Atlanta Braves. Now, I do believe he's being slightly undervalued. This is a guy that's already shown you 30, 20, if not 25, 15 at the bare minimum. He is still a relatively young player, too, by all accounts. Last year, obviously, played just 64 games. But Welsh, he is just around top 50. And to me, I think he is kind of a sleeper. I think he's still an elite player you're getting at a discount. So what do you think of starting this off with Ozzie Albies? Do you think he is a sleeper, or is he still too good, in your opinion, to hit that mark?
No, I think he qualifies as a sleeper because, I mean, and this is why people are doing it, because his ADP's around 50 right now, and he's clumped in. And the projections, I think, are the thing that are really leading this as well, because he did not have a good year last year, obviously dealing with injuries and missed time, but a lot of the underlining stuff was not there. And the projections don't feed into that, because the projections are looking at not only a 3-year marker, but they're also kind of ignoring 2020. So you're getting 2019 that are put in those as well. And that's creating this bigger story of a track record for him. So the projections are BatX has him almost as a 2020 guy this year. And he's going in the 50s and he's clumped in. I think it's kind of funny because he's put in with Jazz Chisholm. And there's kind of injuries there as well. Jazz has been a little bit more injury prone, but people don't feel that injury thing with Ozzie Albies, yet they do with Jazz Chisholm. Everyone's like, I don't want Jazz. The idea is that if he's a 2020 guy, Ozzie Albies could be the very top second baseman in a really bad group of those players. So when you look at top 50 players and you say, hey, how many of these guys have the opportunity to potentially return me top 15 or even first round value overall, that'd be top 15 in a roto, Ozzie Albies kind of still fits that mold. Because if you remember last year, Ozzie Albies was a first-round pick, very popular first-round pick on the wheel.
I was going to say, this is a guy like pretty much at the turn last year, and now he's going at 50.
Yeah.
To me, you get this guy third, fourth round. I mean, that's tremendous value there still. I mean, you got, I'm not saying you have to pay the cost of the wheel pick, but to see him going at 50, and like I said, I snagged him the other day in our draft too. I think he was the 3rd round selection for me. I was like, I can't pass them up. I just can't do it. Too much power speed combination, especially in those leagues where you have the middle infielders you have to worry about. Speaking of middle infielders, we got another guy here on the list who's going right around here, Corey Seager at 55. His ADP has actually gone up a little bit in the last 24 hours since we put the show together, all the way up to 49, if you can believe it. But Corey Seager, to me, I wasn't surprised at all that the Corey Seager first season in Texas was what it was, because when you see the guy sign the mega deals, it's typically what it is. You saw Marcus Semien, his teammates, struggle with the same thing in the first half, and we all know what happened in the second half for him. What was interesting about Corey Seager, though, was that the power really started to come on there once you hit July. He had 14 home runs between July and August, and if you pay attention to all these deep metrics about the shift, he is one of the top 3 guys where the lack of shift is going to benefit him in a very positive way. So in your opinion, is Corey Seager a quote unquote sleeper still? Because just a couple of years, this is another player that was kind of going around the turn not that long ago.
Yeah. So it's interesting you brought up the shift, because that's a note that I have here. He actually last year was the 10th most shifted player with a 92% shift rate. And the differences in why he's going to benefit and what you were talking about, he had a 326 WOBA on the shift. Non-shift, 397. That is huge. You take on top of it that the guy for the last couple of years has completely just altered in how he hits the ball, hits it really hard. Even in all of that mess last year, like Corey Seager wasn't phenomenal by any means. I mean, 33 homers was good, but only a 245 batting average.
July and August got really hot, and then just the bottom fell out in September, and it really hurt the splits overall. But there was definitely, I would say it was a weird 3-act season where it started off rough, then it got really good, and then it ended poorly, unfortunately.
And sometimes these guys are like that. Sometimes they're just streaky players like that. But in all of that mess, think about this. This is a guy that hit 245. He still was top 4% in the league in XBA, which is expected batting average, and top 3% in expected slug, in X slug. So both of those numbers, you take the slug and the batting average and expected stats being top 3 and top 4, on top of it is going to take a huge benefit on the shift. Corey Seager doesn't have the stolen bases and lacks some of that, that sexy fantasy appeal, but he is a guy that if he's going to put up a 270, 280 average with 35 plus homers, you don't usually get that at shortstop. You're not going to get the stolen bases, but if you get if you get 3 elite categories with a 4th solid and you sacrifice stolen bases, he's going to be a 2nd round player. The only bummer is that he's boosting up. I mean, literally when I put this together, 3 days ago, he was 55 ADP, and it's already changed as people are going, or 55 ECR, and he's moved up inside the top 50. That's the bummer as far as the sleeper goes. The more that he moves up, the more that you're kind of just taking out the top end of value. But regardless of the point, this is a guy that looks like he's going to be able to rebound and benefit. You hit 33 homers with a 245 batting average. You click back into some of those expected stats and no shift. You're probably going to be on the top end of a really, really good return as far as stats go at the shortstop position, which is pretty deep. So yes, I'm not the biggest Albies as a sleeper, but I am a Corey Seager as a sleeper.
Yeah, I see. This is like the ADP that I'm not buying, right? I bet you dollars to donuts, whatever that means, that you are going to get Corey Seager slipping in drafts, I think a little bit past this 50 range.
Would love it.
Because I think there'll be some people that are just a little hesitant, or they'll be reaching for outfield or reaching for pitching. I think when you're in those actual drafts, I think you're going to see that happen potentially. And one of the reasons you've seen him as worst as 70, best as 27. I think you're going to see a lot more shares of him closer to 70 than to 30.
Well, and one of the reasons behind that too is because this position is so deep. I just did a 15-team mock in this league, and we were past 100, and you still had Wander Franco, Jeremy Pena still out there. The mock that we did right here on Fantasy Pros, you guys can go and check out. I got Wander Franco at 115. The position is so deep that I don't think people feel the need to jump in. Yep. Who are the guys that you feel the need to jump up on? Guys that also give you those stolen bases. Oneil Cruz, I think, has a better possibility of jumping Corey Seager. And if you can take care of your stolen bases in other spots, which is totally doable this year, Corey Seager falling backwards is going to be a huge value.
Oneil Cruz at 81 right now in the overall. So not that far off, but that gap, I think you're right. It's going to get smaller and smaller, especially if he has a good spring. That's going to change. Vinnie Pasquantino, first baseman for the Kansas City Royals. Heard George Brett on the other day talking about him. So when George Brett's saying nice things about you, I think everybody should pay attention because that guy knows a thing or two about hitting. Last year in AAA, had 18 bombs, 70 ribbies, hit 277, came up at 295 over 72 games, 10 dingers for him. I know this is a polarizing player. He's going to be 25 this year. But to me, I still think that this is a player that tracks in that sleeper range. 94 overall, that feels about right. If you miss out on the elite first baseman, I think it's worth taking a shot. But are we running the risk here? Is this the next Luke Voit or the next sleeper that really becomes a thing more like a Pete Alonso?
Well, the Luke Voit thing, that's interesting. But no, I mean, the reason that everyone's so excited about him is what he did in the short term of last season, had 10 homers in 72 games while hitting 295 and had a higher walk percentage than his strikeout percentage. So you take a rookie with that and the big physicalness that he is in general. He had 18 homers in the same amount of games by the 70 or 73 games in AAA. So he hit 28 homers across, essentially a full season in AAA in the major leagues. You take all of that with the plate discipline and people get really excited about it. Another thing, we got to go back to the Corey Seager thing. He was the 8th most shifted as far as percentage player goes last season. 93.2% of the 70 games he was shifted on. And this is another one of those. 362 WOBA on the shift, 422 WOBA on non-shift. So you take great plate discipline, you take potential power, you take great contact skills, a guy that hit 295 in his debut, and then you say shift, big on. So this is a player at 94 that people are like, oh, you get a drop off after Matt Olson. I think a lot of people see a potential, top 50 overall return. The divisiveness, though, Joe, is about projections this year because Steamer went through the roof. People got excited. 275, 21 homers. The Bat X poured water on it. 16 homers with a 270 batting average. And he's kind of low in RBI and run totals no matter what, which is why I actually fade a little bit. I think based on this ADP, I do think he's he is the potential of the sleeper, but I'm fading because the team context is also not good. I think I've said this a whole bunch. Like I'd rather have Jose Abreu at about the same cost than Vinnie Pasquantino, but you can see why he is such a sleeper. And the cost hasn't jumped up like a lot of these other guys.
I would agree with that logic. I think he's a sleeper in the right spot. He's a good one to target. But if you're going to get Jose Abreu in that same area, I know some people are a little concerned with some of the drop-offs and some of the stats last year with Abreu, but dropping him there with Houston in that lineup is pretty good. Not that the White Sox are a bad lineup, but God, they had so many injuries last year too. It was
also,
such a weird season for them.
The Royals too. He played 72 games. Pasquantino did. He had 26 RBIs. He had 10 homers. 26 RBIs in 72 games. It's really hard when you look at this team to figure out where are the run and RBI opportunities going to come from overall. So as good as he can individually be, you can probably find more boring players, Nate Lowe, CJ Cron, Christian Walker, who are just going to overall put up bigger counting stats. They might not give you the average, but you're probably going to get more homers. You're going to get more runs and RBI, and that's almost a guarantee probably on all those players I just listed. So that's why he is a huge sleeper name, but he's not on like my sleeper list.
All right, before we get to the next guy on the list, just a reminder too, if you want to be part of our rankings at Fantasy Pros, go to fantasypros.com/rank for your chance to be part of our expert consensus, because that's what we're talking about here, whether it be NBA, MLB, NHL, doesn't matter, Dynasty, Devy, Best Ball, forget it. We got it. All of them. So go check it out. Again, fantasypros.com/rank if you want to make your voice heard. And you've got a good voice in the industry, not like me. Terrible voice. How I ended up on podcasts,
I got cold.
And you
this
got
week
cold.
Too. I'm like
the worst.
Nasally and ugh.
Jeffery Springs, he's not the worst. His ADP fluctuates as well. The ECR is at 183 on him, the best at 116, the worst at 274. Right now, again, it's very early, but this is a player last year, Welsh, 135 innings, gave up just 114 hits, 144 strikeouts to just 33 walks there. Very solid performance, a 2.46 ERA. Why isn't this guy getting more buzz? I almost feel like I do believe he is a sleeper. What's holding this guy back right now with ADP?
I agree. I would say one of the biggest reasons why he's held back is because of how the Rays have used him in the past. This was a guy that was kind of in that. Remember when Drew Rasmussen was kind of like an opener? Like, I think there's that feel that forever and always, Jeffery Springs is going to be held back from being a heavy, dominant innings type of a pitcher. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons behind it. Also, just Rays in general, that they're going to ever unleash him. This is one of mine. I think Jeffery Springs, I think a lot of people agree 170 is a steal. I think Jeffery Springs is on the precipice. If the team does just allow him to go and unload, this is going to be a big positive. This past year, he had 135 innings, and like that's what I'm talking about. Are they going to go to 150? You know, like they really hold these guys back as far as those innings go. Maybe they didn't with Flanagan. If you can unleash him over a full season, you're going to have 200 plus strikeouts. He had a 2.46 ERA this past year. And check this out. He had a 3.32 Sierra. So people pay attention to the Sierra, maybe a little bit more of a realistic look at what there's so many ERA predictors now. You know, you can look at XFIP or FIP, and then Sierra tends to be more commonly like a better predictor of what your actual ERA would look like. So 2.46 ERA, a 3.32 Sierra. That 3.32 Sierra was tied with Zach Gallen. Zach Gallen had the exact same Sierra. Then you go to his K percentage. He had a 26.2 K percentage last year. That was higher than Yu Darvish and just behind Zach Gallen. So I'm not trying to say that he's going to be Zach Gallen, but I'm saying he's a guy you need to pick up. If his innings push up, he could push 200. It's a pretty good team context. I love Jeffery Springs. I think he's a massive sleeper in value post 150.
All right, next guy on the list here, Lars Nootbar. He's going around pick 190 right now on the expert consensus as of us recording the show. Last year, 14 bombs, 40 ribbies in 108 games. If you look at the minor league track record, though, it's a player with an OPS of 718 over 209 games. I have a tough time with this one. I know he is a very trendy name. I don't think this is a sleeper I'm going to be in on this year. What are your thoughts on Nootbar?
I'm very much going to be on Lars Nootbar. Loved him since the AFL, where he was being used as kind of a leadoff hitter. You go and look at his Baseball Savant page. It is red. It is the Red Sea, and it's not parting because it's still red the entire way through. 90th percentile in average exit velocity. What's one thing I really like, 91.7 was his average exit velocity with a 113 max EV. You know, max EV is what a lot of people pay attention to, but to be able to hold it that high is very solid. 89 percentile max exit velocity. Hard hit percentage was in the top 80%. Ex-WOBA 82%. He is just a strong ability as far as a leadoff hitter goes. He can run. He's gotten bigger this past year. He's very pull heavy to watch, but high walk percentage, good contact rate. He's a good leadoff homer, stolen base. I think he'd be a 5-tool player. I'm very, very much into Lars Nootbar. The only problem is he is one of the highest moving up players as far as like the last month, as far as drafts have gone. He's moved up maybe more than anybody as far as ADP.
Yeah, this is a guy I'm just not in on. Again, you got to prove more to me in the minor league track record. A cup of coffee up here. 108 games is a good sample size, but I don't know, man. I'm looking at the 373 career slugging in the minor leagues. That's not super impressive. The 345 OBP, that's not super impressive for the leadoff guy that I want. And 257 batting average. Again, 200 games in minor leagues. I mean, look, players evolve. Whit Merrifield was a mediocre minor leaguer who then took the world by storm and had some great seasons. We'll see if he's the next one. Let's go to Miguel Vargas, next guy on the list at 293. Welsh, do you think Miguel Vargas is a sleeper or not?
I do simply, and this one is going to be a little bit easier for you. This one, I think, is simply just about him not having a lockdown job. I moved him way up in my ranks. I think based on where he's being drafted, he's a sleeper because he looks all but having the second base job in LA. And this is one of those guys, I was actually looking, an interesting thing about him. He hit sub 100 against fastballs in his major league debut. And that actually shows a lot about the player that he is. He's a very patient, high OBP type of guy that's walking. And he was cheating in his debut to try to hit off speed stuff. And I think he ended up hitting breaking pitches over 300, but it was sub 100 against fastballs. Getting more time and getting locked in at a major league level, I think he's going to click. You're not going to hit sub 100 against fastballs. He's going to make good contact. He's going to have that second base gig, which is extra availability. I think he's had good homers, and he'll hit lower in the lineup in there, but it's an opportunity, and he's way in the 200s. I think he should be closer to a top 200, and once he's been given the job, he will skyrocket like all of these rookies will in general once they're confirmed. Everyone's just a little bit nervous. So Miguel Vargas, this is a little bit more of a me one, Joe, but I think he is a sleeper here, especially on his current ADP.
Esteury Ruiz at 317. Now, this is a guy who's kind of blocked in that Padres system. Now with Milwaukee, do you see a clearer path for him to, I guess, return to this sleeper status that people want to put on him?
Well, the sleeper status is all about the stolen bases. That's about it. The
Right.
Oakland A's are maybe the most embarrassing roster to look at. It's really it's bad for baseball. It's embarrassing, but for fantasy players, it breeds opportunity and cheap opportunity because who wants an A? Who like name an A that you want? There is none. There's none that you actually want to have. Maybe Ramon Laureano. That's like past 150.
Mhm.
Esteury's got the ability to lead the league in stolen bases, and he's also got the ability to potentially lead off for this team. So that's why he's such a sleeper for late round stolen bases. I don't know if I buy it so much, but guess what? Are they going to give up any early and they need to manufacture runs? Yes, all of those. First, no, and then yes, they're not going to give up on him early. Yes, they need to manufacture runs. So he's a sleeper for stolen bases. I don't get super excited because I don't like to hedge my bet on like super late dudes that get you stolen base. I want even players that do well
Right.
things, not a one-trick pony, and that's what I think he is.
All right, Will Myers seems like a perpetual sleeper every single year. If only he can stay
Yeah.
healthy. If Will Myers, if his whole career's been if. 328 is the current ADP right here for Will Myers. So let's talk about him in terms of your thoughts. Do you think that being in Cincinnati this year makes him a sleeper that is truly sleeper worthy of investment?
Yeah, ifs and buts, candies and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas. That is what Michael Clark Duncan said to us. And yeah, I'm in on Will Myers. I think it's simply the team context. He's going to be given opportunity. There's a growing sense of people that I think actually are kind of liking Jake Fraley. So I want to throw that out as well, that one of those guys would pop. But Cincinnati, we saw it with Brandon Drury this past year. Will Myers should actually be one of the team leaders on there. And outfield really stinks, and he qualifies at outfield. So that's one of the biggest reasons behind it. You might get 20 plus homers. And I think a lot of people are building that in for that really just, again, this kind of like the A's. It's not a good team. It's not a great team context, but it's a great ballpark to hit in. And Will Myers has stolen some bases before, has 20 power potential pop. So if he stays healthy and he goes, this is why he's a sleeper. And he is down on every single drafting format. Everywhere you play, he's way down the list.
Yeah,
And you can sneak him
free
as your fifth outfielder. He's absolutely free.
All right, last two guys here. James Outman of the Dodgers at 371 in the ADP. Michael Massey at 471. Massey to me is very interesting, especially in terms of playing time potential. Like his swing, like the lefty bat. Second base is open for him there. Talk about Outman and Massey, these two guys here. One for Kansas City, obviously Outman for the Dodgers, and what their impact can be in some of these deeper leagues when you're looking at the deeper sleepers. Do these guys qualify in your opinion?
Yeah, I think they both qualify for it. So James Outman is interesting because this is a Dodger. It's actually baffling to me. I got to be honest with you. I am shocked that the Dodgers are really showing the comfort level of going in with their outfield of James Outman and Trace Thompson. Like that's Clay Thompson's brother. They would be willing to go into the year with these guys. Outman hit the ball pretty hard. He struck out a ton, but it's 15 plus power, maybe 10 plus stolen base. If they give him, and this is one of the situations, this is opportunity. If James Outman is actually going to be a starting outfielder, he's going to hit 8 or 7 or something for the Dodgers. But in that lineup in general, you're just spattered with great players across the board that there's going to be running RBI opportunities. If you're an everyday outfield for the Dodgers, that's better than probably the second outfielder for the Colorado Rockies. And I don't think that's weird to say. So this is about the opportunity that Outman would get. Plus, he has shown the ball. He's shown the ability to, kind of strike on the ball, kind of like actually a Lars Nootbar. It's actually very similar.
Strikes on the ball. He also strikes out. He's the perfect draft. If you have a good April, May where he's red hot before he gets figured out, you trade him. That's what I think about him. What about Massey real quick too?
Yeah, 40% strikeout rate and everything. But I would call Outman like Walgreens Lars Nootbar. Michael Massey is way down the list, like 400s, but he's the last pick in a lot of places because it looks like he's been given the job. I actually just got some video from a friend that was at a batting session where he looks kind of jacked, and he looks like he's going to be given this overall gig with the Royals. And this is just a back to kind of opportunity. He's power speed, under 200 plate appearances. He had 4 homers, 3 stolen bases, batting average around 243. Might move up in the lineup. Maybe they can hit him too. Makes really good contact. This is going to be a team that is still going to run. And I think Massey has the potential to get 15 plus stolen bases this year. And again, you're just looking sometimes to fill out a spot. Second base stinks, and you can get him post 400 right now. Michael Massey, especially in deeper leagues or NFBC based stuff, is definitely a sleeper.
All right, let us know your sleepers. You can always put the comments in the YouTube channel. We love to hear from you. And don't forget, our draft kit is open for business. FantasyPros.com/draft kit. That'll do it for us. But the story of the game goes on. For the Welsh, I'm Joey P. We'll see you next time, kids.